Okay, so Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness sees Wanda chasing down America Chavez in order to steal her powers so that she can be reunited with her kids. Though some people are calling Wanda one-dimensional, I think she's the perfect villain for this film, which feels like the first horror movie we've had in the MCU. I know her turn is very divisive, but throughout this video, I want to argue why I absolutely love her, the horror movies that Raimi pulled from to make her scenes even more intense, and why she's one of my favourite comic book movie villains ever. If you agree, then please hit the thumbs up button. If you don't, then drop a comment below, but whatever you do, make sure you subscribe for videos like this almost every day. With that out of the way, thanks for clicking this. Now let's get into why we think Wanda is the perfect villain. Now Wanda, she's been through a lot in her life. Not only did she get her home blown up along with her parents, she also ended up getting experimented on by Hydra when she was very young. This led into the events of Age of Ultron, where her brother was killed in front of her, which was then followed by Civil War, where the whole world turned on her and blamed her for killing lots of kids. To add to that, when Infinity War rolled around, she had to murder the man she loved to save the universe, but this ended up proving to be pointless when Thanos brought him back and killed him in front of her. Then there was WandaVision, where she ended up creating a perfect life for herself, only to have it all taken away. Wanda has been through a lot, and since she was first introduced all the way back in 2015, she's arguably had the most tragic arc out of any Marvel character. And although there's a lot of criticism that she ended up doing a Daenerys and going crazy all of a sudden, you have to remember that she was out in the wilderness with the Darkhold for months. Most of the time, whenever the devil is described in stories, he doesn't come trying to kill you, his tactics are way more subtle. This embodiment of evil is often just someone who tempts us with giving up our morals in order to get what our heart desires. That is very much what the Darkhold represents, and whilst it corrupts Wanda, it also offers her a better life.
You break the rules. Look out! To become a hero. I do it, I become the enemy. It doesn't seem fair.
It then gets its claws in Wanda, which is why we find her buried under rubble inside her own mind, whilst the Scarlett Witch is showing up at breakneck speeds. In the film, we discover that every universe other than the 616 has a version of her where she's happy with her kids, and every night Wanda goes to sleep dreaming of this better life. Upon waking up, she's faced with the cold hard truth, and even without the Darkhold, you can see how this would break someone mentally. Now Wanda, much like Age of Ultron, was first introduced as a villain in the comics, but over the years we've watched her transform into a hero before her power ended up proving too much. In stories like Avengers Disassembled and House of M, we've seen how she's been someone who can do exactly what she wants, and therein lies her downfall. Like Silas Stone says in Zack Snyder's Justice League,
the challenge won't be doing it. It will be not doing, not seeing.
Wanda is one of, if not the most powerful person in the universe, and therefore she should be able to have what she wants. Now her being the villain here makes the perfect opposite to Strange. Wanda isn't willing to sacrifice what she wants for the greater good, and she will happily kill dads on Mother's Day just cause there'll be someone to look after the kids. Juxtaposing this, Strange could have had a happy life, but instead he sacrificed the time stone, got dusted, and came back 5 years later having found that the love of his life had moved on. To make things worse, her husband is a massive Doctor Strange fan, and Steven ends up having to stand at the wedding, pretending to be happy watching her walk down the aisle. Wanda also tempts him with another universe in which he can be with Christine, but he turns this down as the cost of killing America would be too great for him. It puts them at complete opposite ends of the spectrum, and shows two powerful magic entities that could both have what they want, but they decide for themselves to take different paths. Just before they meet at Comitage, Wanda says that it won't be her that comes for America, it'll be the Scarlet Witch. So her showing up at Comitage to tempt Steven when she never did this at the forest is showing the extent of her possession. She's using the same tactics that the Darkhold used on her in order to try and tempt Steven with a better life, where he will finally obtain the happiness that he lies about having. Now Wanda's design in the movie is based heavily on a lot of horror villains. The Samara from The Ring, whose infamous TV crawl she imitates when exiting the mirror dimension, the Wicked Witch of the West's haunted forest trees that we somewhat see at her home when the illusion is broken, elements of Carrie with the oil all over her face, Terminator when she limps along after the heroes with her eyes glowing red, Snow White which we even see playing on a TV in other Wanda's home, The Exorcist when she appears from the corner and snaps X's neck, and there's a lot of references to past works. It plants this idea in our head that she's a classic horror monster who's completely unstoppable, When we did our analysis of the Batman, we talked about how Matt Reeves leaned into villains like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees in order to give the idea to audiences that Batman was somewhat of a supernatural being. His slow walking was used to intimidate those that he faced, and Wanda very much pulls from these same archetypes. Making her a one-dimensional character also makes her a force of nature, and whatever strange and co throughout her, she has the ability to get around it and bounce back from it. Now I know there's a lot of criticism about how the Illuminati are handled in this movie, but personally, I think that what they do is brilliant to make us realise just how powerful that Wanda is. For years, fans have cried out for not only John Krasinski to be fan-cast as Mr. Fantastic, but we've also been desperate to see Professor X in the MCU. These are given to us in the film, and just when we think they're gonna save the day, they're ripped apart by Wanda, which also rips our heart out in the audience. Look at me, you can see the moment my heart breaks in two, watching Professor X get his neck broken. Now I think everyone is going to have a kind of knee-jerk reaction to it at first, but with the X-Men and Fantastic Four both getting movies in the future, I think it's safe to say that they'll be back. We will no doubt get them again, and those who hate this might even come to appreciate how much of an FU that it is to fans. Hey, Ralph Boner showed us Feige likes to troll, and watching Wanda drop the coldest lines I've ever heard in a comic book movie just elevates the scene so much. She drops the what mouth line and bit about Sue Storm being there to raise Reed's kids back to back, and it shows how she will no longer let anyone stand in her way.
I'm the smartest man alive, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four.
The world's smartest man poses no more threat to me than does its smartest termite.
Now though it's not really labelled as such, this film is very much a versus movie. We've had a number of them over the years like Godzilla vs Kong, Batman v Superman, Alien vs Predator, and so on and so on. They're very much a staple of big franchises, and though I like them, I have to admit that at this point they all follow the same sort of formula. When Godzilla vs Kong was getting filmed, I think we all knew that it would end with the pair teaming up together in order to stop a bigger threat that was actually behind the scenes controlling it all. Most of the movies in the genre end with the two opposing teams putting their differences to the side in order to fight a bigger bad guy, and this was even somewhat the structure that Marvel used for Captain America Civil War. Many people even expected a secret villain in this, and when those Chthon-looking monsters showed up in the trailers, it seemed like that was what we were going to get. What Multiverse of Madness does though is that it keeps the Scarlett Witch as the main villain, and because of this it doesn't cheapen her in the end. The Dark Knight Rises show that you can often strip one of the main talking points of your film if you do a bait and switch at the end, and I think it's smart of Marvel to just be like, nope, Wanda is the bad guy. The film ends with her coming face to face with her children and a version of herself, which she ends up attacking. This scares her kid so much she realizes the monster that she's become and lies through her teeth, saying that she didn't hurt anyone. She's then faced with a version of herself who is the mother that she should be rather than the person she's become. She tells her that they'll be loved, which finally breaks Wanda and makes her realize her wrongdoings. Even in this moment, Scarlet Witch is so powerful that she can only be defeated by herself, and this strategy to take her into the life she could have makes her see where she's gone wrong. At her core, Wanda is still a hero, even though we just watched her brutally murder people for 2 hours, and over the last 7 years we've followed the growth of the character as she's went from villain to hero and back to being a villain. She's arguably been on the most complex arc out of any MCU character, and pushing her over the deep end like this was not only surprising, but damn right divisive, and for a good reason. We often don't want to see the faults in the heroes that we respect, but watching her corrupted by her selfish attitude very much acts as an example to us of what not to do. This is also mirrored in Strange, who could potentially be with a version of Christine at the end of the film, but he forgoes this because of the incursion that it would cause. Strange is such a hero in this moment because Wanda has been such a big villain throughout the movie, and them being at opposite sides of the spectrum is the perfect way to drive the narrative. Wanda very much feels like she's a monster from an 80s kids movie back before everything got heavily sanitized, and the horror she brings in the film is used expertly to terrify not only the characters in the movie, but also us as an audience. It's masterful storytelling that allows her to become the perfect villain that this film needs, and in the hands of anyone else, I think that Wanda may have underdelivered. Instead, Elizabeth Olsen completely knocks it out of the park and delivers what's probably her most memorable performance in the MCU. Scarlet Witch was incredible, and hopefully I've helped to make you appreciate the movie a little bit more if you came out of it not liking the choices they made. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so make sure you drop them, and just to let you know, we're running a competition right now and giving away 3 copies of Spider-Man No Way Home on the 15th of May. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the film. The winners of last month's competition are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the unanswered questions in the movie, which goes over a lot of the things that people are very confused about. Hopefully see you over there, but if not, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next week. Take care, peace.